So, hello YouTube. Hello. We're going to be continuing reading Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. We just started chapter 6. Well, we will be. I'm excited, and I hope it will be nice. We'll probably get through 1 to 2 chapters tonight, so let's see how we go. Now, whilst I'm reading, I won't be able to talk to chat, so I hope you understand. I'll only talk to or address the chat if someone raids me, or if someone donates. Otherwise, I'll leave it for in between chapters. I hope you understand, and I hope you are all tucked up, having a good night, and enjoy. I love when people read to me, so I'll very happily read to you all. One sec. You just want there to be this. Beautiful. You also might scoot down a smidge. Sitting a bit too much on the kontatsu. Or kotatsu. Now, whilst I'm reading, if my voice sounds a little crusty, and that's just how it sounds, but if you reckon I do need a drink, please feel free to redeem have a little drink. I'll mute myself when I do have a drink, so if there's like gaps every now and then, that's what's happening. But also please be understanding, we're just about to hit our 13th hour, or our 100 and probably 35th hour? We've been streaming for a long time. But I love it. So, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, Chapter 6. I became the Supreme Supreme Lord of the Bathroom. Strong start. Doggo! Welcome home, welcome home. I'm gonna read to you guys tonight. Okay. Once I got over the fact that my Latin teacher was a horse, we had a nice tour. Though I was careful not to walk behind him. I'd done Pooper Scooper Patrol in Mackey's Thanksgiving Day parade a few times, and I'm sorry, I did not trust Karen's back end the way I trusted his front. We passed a volleyball pit. Several campers nudged each other. One pointed at the monitor horn I was carrying. Another said, "That's him." Most of the campers were older than me. Their Seder friends were bigger than Grover, all of them trotting around in orange Camp Half-Blood t-shirts, with nothing else to cover their bare, shaggy hindquarters. I wasn't normally shy, but the way that they were staring at me made me uncomfortable. I felt like they were expecting me to do a cartwheel or something. I looked back at the farmhouse. It was a lot bigger than I realized. 4 stories tall. Sky blue with white trim. Like an upmarket seaside resort. I was checking out the brass eagle weather vane on the top when something caught my eye. a shadow in the utmost window of the attic gable. Something had moved the curtain just for a second, and then I got a distinct impression I was being watched. "What's up there?" I asked Karen. He looked where I was pointing and his smile faded. "Just the attic. Somebody live there?" "No," he said with finality. "Not a single living thing." I got the feeling he was being truthful, but I was also sure that I had seen the curtain move. "Come along, Percy," Karen said, his light-hearted tone now a little forced. "Lots to see." We walked through the strawberry fields, where campers were picking bushels of berries while satyrs played a tune on the reed pipes. Karen told me that the camp grew a nice crop to export to the New York restaurants in Mount Olympus. "It pays our expenses," he explained, "and the strawberries take almost no effort." He said Mr. D had this effect on fruit-bearing plants. They just went crazy when he was around. It worked best with wine grapes, but Mr. D was restricted from growing those, so they grew strawberries instead. I watched the satyrs playing on their pipe. His music. They were causing lines of bugs to leave the strawberry patch in every direction, like refugees fleeing a fire. I wondered, could Grover work that kind of magic with music? I wondered if he was still inside the farmhouse being lectured by Mr. D. "Grover won't get in too much trouble, will he?" I asked Karen. I mean, he was a really good protector, really. Karen sighed. He shed his tweed jacket and draped it over his horseback, like a saddle. "Grover has big dreams, Percy. Perhaps bigger than they are reasonable. To reach his goal, he must first demonstrate great courage by succeeding as a keeper, finding a new camper and bringing him safely to Half-Blood Hill. But he did that." "I might agree with you," Karen said, "but it is not my place to judge. Dionysus and the Council of the Clover Elders must decide. I'm afraid they might not see this assessment as a success. After all, Grover did lose you in New York. Then there's the unfortunate, fate of your mother. And the fact that Grover was unconscious when you dragged him over the property line. The council might question whether this shows any courage on Grover's part." I wanted to protest. None of what had happened was Grover's fault. I also felt really, really guilty. If I hadn't given Grover the slip on the bus at the bus station, he might not have gotten in trouble. He'll get a second chance, won't he? Karen winced. "I'm afraid that was Grover's second chance, Percy. The council was not anxious to give another either. Especially what happened the first time, 5 years ago. Olympus knows I advised him to wait longer before trying again. He's so small for his age. How old is he? Oh, 28. What? And he's in 6th grade? Satyrs mature half as fast as humans, Percy. Grover has been the equivalent of a middle school student for the past 6 years. That's horrible." "Quite," Karen agreed. "At any rate, Grover is a late bloomer, even by Satyr standards. And yet, not very accomplished at woodland magic. Alas, he was anxious to pursue his dream. Perhaps now he will find some other career. That's not fair, I said. What happened the first time? Was it really so bad? Karen looked away quickly. Let's move along, shall we? But I wasn't quite ready to let the subject drop. Something had occurred to me when Karen talked about my mother's fate. As if he were intentionally avoiding saying the word death. The beginnings of an idea, a tiny, hopeful fire, started forming in my mind. Chiron, I said, if the gods and Olympus and all of that are real, yes, child? Does that mean the underworld is real too? Chiron's expression darkened. Yes, child. He paused, as if choosing his next words very carefully. There is a place where spirits go after death. But for now, until we know more, I would urge you to put that out of your mind. What do you mean, until we know more? Percy, come. Let's see the woods. As we got closer, I realized how huge the forest was. It took up at least a quarter of the valley, with trees so thick and so tall you could imagine nobody had been in them since the Native Americans. Karen said, The woods are stocked, if you care to try your luck. But go armed. Stocked? With what? I asked. Armed with what? You'll see. Capture the flag is Friday night. Do you have your own sword and shield? My own? No, Karen said. I don't suppose you do. I think size 5 will do. I'll visit the armorer later. I wanted to ask what kind of summer camp had an armorer. But there was too much else to think about, so the tour continued. We saw the archery range, the canoeing lake, the stables, which Karen didn't seem to like very much, the javelin range, the sing-along amphitheater, and the arena, where Karen said they held sword and spear fights. Sword and spear fights? I asked. Well, cabin challenges and all that, he explained. Not lethal. Usually. Oh, yes. And there's the mess hall. Karen pointed to an outdoor pavilion framed in white Grecian columns on a hill overlooking the sea. There were a dozen stone picnic tables. No roof, no walls. What do you do when it rains? I asked. Karen looked at me as if I'd gone a little weird. We still have to eat, don't we? I decided to drop the top subject. Finally, he showed me the cabins. There were 12 of them, nestled in the woods by the lake. They were arranged in a U, 2 at the base and 5 in rows on either side. And they were without the doubt the most bizarre collection of buildings I'd ever seen. Except for the fact that each one had a large brass number above the door, odds on the left side, evens on the right. They looked absolutely nothing alike. Number 9 had smokestacks like a tiny factory. Number 4 had tomato vines on the walls and roof. It was beautiful. The roof was made out of real glass. 7 seemed to me made out of solid gold, which gleamed in the sunlight as if it was impossible to look at. They all faced a common area about the size of a soccer field, dotted with Greek statues, fountains, flower beds, and a couple of basketball hoops, which were honestly more my speed. In the center of the field, there was a huge stone-lined fire pit. even though it was a warm afternoon, a hearth smoked underneath. A girl about 9 years old was tending to the flames, poking the coals with a stick. The pair of cabins at the head of the field, numbers 1 and 2, looked like his and hers mausoleums. Big, wide marble boxes with heavy columns in the front. Cabin 1 was the biggest and bulkiest of the 12. Its polished bronze doors shimmered like holographic, so that different angles of lightning bolts seemed to streak across them. Cabin 2 was more graceful somehow, with slimmer columns and just pomegranates and flowers. The walls were carved with images of peacocks. Zeus and Hera, I guessed. Correct, Karen said. Their cabin looks empty. Oh, several cabins are. That's true. No one ever stays in 1 or 2. Okay, so each cabin had a different god, like a mascot. 12 cabins for the 12 Olympians. But why would some be empty? I stopped in front of the first cabin on the left, cabin 3. It wasn't high and mighty like cabin 1, but long and low and solid. The outer walls were made out of grey stone that was rough and studded, with pieces of seashells and coral, as if the slab had been hewn straight from the bottom of the ocean floor. I peeked inside the open doorway, and Karen said, "Oh, I wouldn't do that." Before he could pull me back, I caught the salty scent of the interior, like the wind on the shore of Montauk. The interior walls glowed like albone. There were 6 empty bunk beds with silk sheets turned down. There was no sign anyone had ever slept there. The place felt so sad and lonely. I was glad when Karen put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Percy, come along." Most of the other cabins were crowded with campers. Number 5 was bright red, a real nasty paint job, as if the color had been splashed on with buckets and fists. The roof was lined with barbed wire. A stuffed boar's head hung over the doorway. Its eyes seemed to follow me. Inside, I could see a bunch of mean-looking kids, both girls and boys, arm wrestling and arguing with each other while rock music played. The loudest girl was maybe 13 or 14. She wore an XXL Camp Half-Blood t-shirt under a camouflage jacket. She zeroed in on me and gave me an evil sneer. She reminded me of Nancy Bobofit, though the camp girl was much bigger and tougher looking. And her hair was long and stringy, and brown instead of red. I kept walking, trying to stay clear of Karen's hooves. We haven't seen any of the centaurs, I observed. No, Karen said sadly. My kinsmen are wild and barbaric folk, I'm afraid. You might encounter them in the wilderness, or at a major sporting event, but you won't see any here, Percy. You said your name was Chiron. Are you really... He smiled down at me. The Chiron from the stories? Trainer of Hercules and all that. Yes, Percy, I am. But shouldn't you be... dead? Chiron paused, as if the question intrigued him. I honestly don't know about should be. The truth is, I can't be dead. You see, aeons ago, the gods granted my wish. I could continue the work I loved. I could be a teacher of heroes as long as humanity needed me. I gained much from that wish, and I gave up much. But I'm still here, so I can only assume I am still needed. I thought about being a teacher for 3,000 years. It would have made my top 10 things. It wouldn't have made my top 10 things to wish for. Does it ever get boring? No, he said. Horribly depressing at times, but never boring. Why depressing? Karen seemed to turn hard of hearing again. Oh look, he said. Annabeth is waiting for us. The blonde guy I met at the big house was reading a book in the front of the last cabin on the left. Number 11. When we reached her, she looked me over critically, like she was still thinking about how much I drooled. I tried to see what she was reading, but I couldn't make out the title. I thought my dyslexia was acting up. Then I realized the title wasn't even in English. The letters looked Greek to me. I mean, literally Greek. Those were pictures of temples and statues and different types of columns, like they were architecture books. Annabeth, Karen said, I have master's archery class at noon. Would you take Percy from here? Yes, sir. Cabin 11, Karen told me, gesturing towards the doorway. Make yourself at home. Out of all the cabins, 11 looked the most like a regular old summer camp cabin, with the emphasis on old. The threshold was worn down, the brown paint peeling. Over the doorway, there was one of those doctor's symbols, a winged pole with 2 snakes wrapped around it. What do they call it? Inside, it was packed with people, both boys and girls, way more than the number of bunk beds. Sleeping bags were even spread across all the floors. It looked like a gym where the Red Cross had set up an evacuation center. Karen didn't go in. The door was too low for him, but when the campers saw him, they all stood and bowed respectfully. Well then, Karen said, good luck, Percy. I'll see you at dinner. He galloped away towards the archery range. I stood in the doorway, looking at the kids. They weren't bowing anymore. They were staring at me, sizing me up. And I knew this routine. I'd gone through it at enough scores. Well, Annabeth prompted. Go on. So, naturally, I tripped coming in the doorway and made a total fool of myself. There were some snickers from the campers, but none of them said anything. Annabeth announced, Percy Jackson. Meet Cabin 11. Regular or undetermined, someone asked. I don't know what to say, so Annabeth said undetermined. Everyone groaned. A guy who was a little older than the rest came forward. Now, campers. That's what we're here for. Welcome, Percy. You can have a spot on the floor right over there. The guy was about 19, and he looked pretty cool. He was tall and muscular, with short cropped sandy hair and a friendly smile. He wore an orange tank top, cutoffs, sandals, and a leather necklace with about 5 different colors of clay beads. The only thing unsettling about his appearance was his white scar that ran from just beneath his right eye to his jaw, like an old knife slash. This is Luke, Annabeth said, as her voice sounded different somehow. I glanced over and could have sworn she was blushing. She saw me looking, and her expression hardened again. He's your counselor for now. For now? I asked. You're undetermined, Luke explained patiently. They don't know what cabin to put you in, so you're here. Cabin 11 takes all newcomers. All visitors, naturally, we would. Well, Hermes is our patron, and the god of travelers. I looked at the tiny section of the floor he'd given me. I had nothing to put there to mark as my own. No luggage, no clothes, no sleeping bag. Just the Minotaur horn. I thought about setting it down, but then I remembered that Hermes was also the god of thieves. I looked around the campers' faces. Some were sullen and suspicious. Some grinned stupidly. Some eyeing me as if they were waiting for a chance to pick my pockets. How long will I be here? I asked. Good question, Luke said. You're undetermined. So, until you're determined. How long will that take? The campers all laughed. Oh, come on, Annabeth told me. I'll show you the volleyball court. I've already seen it. Come on. She grabbed my wrist and dragged me outside. I could hear the kids of Cabin 11 laughing behind me. When we were a few meters away, Annabeth said, Jackson, you have to do better than that. What? She rolled her eyes and mumbled under her breath. I can't believe I thought you were the one. What's your problem? I was getting angry now. All I know is I killed some bull guy. Don't talk like that, Annabeth told me. You know how many kids at this camp wished they had your chance. To get killed? To fight the Minotaur? What do you think we are training for? I shook my head. Look, if the thing I fought really was the Minotaur, the same one in the stories, yes, then there's only one. Yes. And he died like a gajillion years ago, right? Theseus killed him in the labyrinth, so... Monsters don't die, Percy. They can't be killed. But they don't die. Oh, thanks. That clears it up. They don't have souls, like you and me. You can dispel them for a while, maybe even a whole lifetime if you're lucky. But they are primal forces. Chiron calls them an archetypes. Eventually, they'll reform. I thought about Miss Dodds. You mean, if I killed one accidentally with a sword, I mean, your maths teacher. That's right. She's still out there. You just made her very, very mad. How did you know about Miss Dodds? You talk in your sleep. You almost called her something. A fury. They're Hades torturers, right? Annabeth glanced at the ground as if she expected to open up and swallow her. You shouldn't call them by name. Even here, we call them the kindly ones, if we have to speak of them at all. Look, is there anything we can say without it thundering? I sounded whiny, even to myself, but right then I just didn't care. Why do I have to stay in a cabin 11? Anyway, like, why is everyone so crowded together? There are plenty of empty bunks right over there. I pointed to the first few cabins, and Annabeth turned pale. You don't just choose a cabin. It depends on who your parents are. Or your parent. She stared at me, waiting for me to get it. My mum is Sally Jackson, I said. She works the canning store in Grand Central Station, or At least she used to. I'm so sorry about your mom, Percy. But that's not what I mean. I'm talking about your other parent. Your dad. He's dead. I never knew him. Annabeth sighed. Clearly she'd had this conversation before with other kids. Your father's not dead, Percy. How can you say that? Do you know him? No, of course not. Well, then how can you say it? Because I know you. You wouldn't be here if you weren't one of us. You don't know anything about me. No. She raised an eyebrow. I bet you moved around from school to school. I bet you were kicked out of a lot of them. How? Diagnosed with dyslexia and probably ADHD too. I tried to swallow my embarrassment. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Taken. Taken together. It's almost a sure sign. The letters float off the page when you read, right? That's because your mind is hardwired for ancient Greek. And ADHD, you're impulsive. You can't sit in the classroom. That's your battlefield reflexes. In a real fight, that'd keep you alive. As for the intention problems, well, that's because you see too much, Percy, not too little. Your senses are much better than regular mortals. Of course, the teachers want you to be medicated. Most of them are monsters. They don't want you to see them for what you are. And for what they are. You sound like you went through the same thing. Well, most of the kids here did. If you weren't like us, you couldn't have survived the mental. Muscles, ambrosia, then ambrosia and nectar. Ambrosia and nectar? The food and drink we were giving you to make you feel better. That stuff would have killed a normal kid. It would have turned your blood to fire and your bones to sand, and you'd be dead. Face it, you are a half-blood. A half-blood? Oh, man. I was reeling with so many questions, I just didn't know where to start. Then, ask your voice yet. Oh, newbie! I looked over. A big girl from the ugly red cabin was sorting towards us. She had 3 other girls behind us, all big and ugly and mean-looking just like her, all wearing camo jackets. Clarice, Annabeth sighed. Why don't you go polish a spear or something? Sure, Miss Princess, the big girl said, so I can run it through your Friday night. Eric, grass, Annabeth said, which I somehow understood was Greek for go to the crows. Though I had a feeling it was a much worse curse than it sounded. You don't stand a chance. We'll pulverize you, Clarice said, but her eyes twitched. Perhaps, she wasn't sure she could follow through on the threat. She turned towards me. Anyway, who's this little runt? Percy Jackson, Annabeth said. Meet Clarice, daughter of Ares. I blinked. Like the war god? Clarice sneered. You got a problem with that? No, I said, recovering my wits. It just explains the bad smell. Clarice growled. Arrgh. Well, we got an initiation ceremony for you newbies, Percy. Whatever. Come on, I'll show you. Clarice, Annabeth tried to say. Stay out of this, white girl. Annabeth looked pained, but she did stay out of it. And I didn't really want her help. I was the new kid. I had to earn my own rep. I handed Annabeth my monitor horn and got ready to fight. But before I knew it, Clarice had me by the neck and was dragging me towards the cinder block building, which I knew immediately was the bathroom. I was kicking and punching. I'd been in plenty of fights before, but this big girl Clarice had hands like iron. She dragged me into the girls' bathroom. There was a line of toilets on one side and a line of shower stalls on the other. It smelled just like any other regular public bathroom. Disgusting. And I was thinking, as much as I could think about ripping out maybe Clarice's hair, that if this place belonged to the gods, they should have been able to afford classier toilets. Clarice's friends were all laughing, and I was trying to find the strength I'd used to fight the Minotaur, but it just wasn't there. Yeah, like his big 3 material, Clarice said as she pushed me towards one of the toilets. Yeah, right. Minotaur probably fell over laughing. He was so stupid looking. Her friend snickered. Annabeth stood in a corner, watching through her fingers. Clarice bent me over my knees and started pushing my head towards the toilet bowl. It reeked like rusted pipes and, well, like what goes into toilets. I strained to keep my head up. I was looking at that scummy water thinking, I will not go into that. I will not. Then something happened. I felt a tug in the pit of my stomach. I heard the plumbing rumble, the pipe shudder. Clarice's grip on my hair loosened. Water shot out of the toilet, making an arc straight over my head, and the next thing I knew, I was sprawled on the bathroom tiles with Clarice screaming behind me. I turned just as the water blasted out of the toilet again, hitting Clarice straight in the face so hard it pushed her down to her butt. The water stayed on her like a spray from a fire hose, pushing her backwards into the shower stalls. She struggled, gasping, and her friends started to come towards her. But then another toilet exploded too, and 6 more streams of water totally blasted them back. The showers started acting up too. Together, all the fixtures sprayed the camouflage girls right out of the bathroom, spinning them around like pieces of garbage being washed away. As soon as they were out of the door, I felt the tug on my gut lessen. The water shut off as quickly as it had started. The entire bathroom was flooded. Annabeth hadn't been spared either. She was dripping wet. But she hadn't been pushed out the door. She was standing in the exact same place, staring at me in shock. I looked down and realized I was sitting in the only dry spot on the entire room. There was a circle of dry floor around me. I didn't have even 1 drop of water on my clothes. Nothing. I stood up, my legs shaky, and I said, "How did you..." I don't know. We walked to the door. Outside, Clarice and her friends were sprawled in the mud, and a bunch of other campers had gathered around to gawk. Clarice's hair was flattened across her face. A camouflage jacket, sopping wet, and smelled like sewage. She gave me a look of absolute hatred. "Percy, you are dead! You are dead! New boy, you are totally dead!" I probably should have let it go, but I said, "Oh, what, you want to gargle the toilet water again, Clarice? Close your mouth." Her friends had to hold her back. They dragged her towards cabin 5, while the other campers made way to avoid her flailing feet. Annabeth stared at me. I couldn't tell whether she was grossed out or angry at me for dousing her. "Well," I demanded, "what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," she said, "that I want you on my team for Capture the Flag." That was chapter 6 of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that by the end of this book, I get a lot better at reading. I just hate when there's new people! New people and new voices. It kills me. But I loved reading for you all today, so thank you for listening. I think we've done a fantastic job today. It's been beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We started off playing a little bit of Monhan with Retsu and Jer, and then we went and played It Takes Two with Crusade. That was so much fun. I had so much fun today. Then after that, we watched 2 movies. We had a double movie night where we watched Big Hero 6, followed by the Minecraft movie, the Krusty version. It was really funny. No, I've had an absolute blast tonight, and I just want to thank you for joining me. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you. But that does call for a wrap of day 12. Good job, everybody! Oh my goodness, good job! I'd like to say a big thank you to Dom. You single-handedly cracked us up to 390 gold. Thank you so much. We are only 54 schmeckles away from hitting 4,000. Can you believe that? Oh my goodness, I cannot believe that. I can't believe that. I am in disbelief. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. If we hit 4,000, I will get a matching live TD chibi as one of my friends who will be going on the wheel. I'm very excited. Well done on winning your bets to the Crusade. Thank you. Whilst we're playing It Takes Two, we might have been doing a little bit of gamba with each other, and I managed to scrape off, what, 20 hours? Which is insane. An insane amount to say, but we still have 124. I'm very happy. I freaking crushed it. Great job, everybody. Thank you for spending time with me today. Now, let's see. Where should we take you tonight? Who is live? I think we might go over this way. Since you guys like yappers, I'm gonna send you over to Ubebe. As she is doing some good yapping. Yap, 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 yap. Yap, yap, yap. Thank you for joining me today. It has been lovely. Again, your company means so much. Your support means so much. I am truly so lucky. Good night, everybody. Good night. These are the raid messages, so feel free to copy one as we go across. And I will see you all tomorrow. Now, what do we have planned for tomorrow? Let me have a quick little sneak peek. Tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow, I'm excited. Tomorrow, I think I'm gonna see if I can harass Aji. So, I'm gonna see if I can harass Aji. And we're gonna be doing a movie night that is a drinking movie night. So, we're gonna be playing a drinking game. And then afterwards, I'm gonna be playing some Mario Kart. Maybe even it be some Mario Kart. I'm quite stoked. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you guys all there, and I cannot wait. See everybody. Good night. Good night. Bye-bye, everyone. Good night. See you, everyone.